All right, people. Hello, world. Tonight is, well, I said tonight, today, this afternoon, wherever you are in the world, this is a moment in time, well, out of time, where we're going to get real deep. So, tonight, we're going to do some deciphering. And as we're doing deciphering, we're going to do some applications. And what I mean by applications, I'm talking about applying the understanding that we receive from this text. Right? So everything will feel relevant. It's always relevant, but there's always a need to have awareness. Right? So where we're gonna go today, we're gonna go into Proverbs 7. Now before we get there, I just want to share that when I'm getting into the word, it's an hour of darkness right now. It's an hour of darkness. It's like even sometimes I feel like I'm alone in a spaceship, right? Sending a broadcast out to people throughout the universe, whoever's alive, whoever's seeking life, here it is. You know, um, shining light on the substance of God that's readily made available on earth through a text called the Bible, you know, and you have to literally shine a light from the spirit, not just a light from this world. I'm not talking about that scatters that darkness. There's a darkness that's within, and that needs light to be shed upon it. And same with the text. The text is not necessarily translated for the benefit of the people. We're going to see that thoroughly tonight. So without further ado, let's move forward. Now, as you can see on the screen here, we're in Proverbs 7. I'm going to go ahead and read this for how they translate it. It says, "My son, keep my words, lay up my commandments with you. Keep my commandments and live. My law as the apple of your eye. Bind them upon your fingers. Write them upon the table of your heart. Say unto wisdom, you are my sister, and call understanding your kinswoman, that they may keep you from the strange woman, from the stranger which flatters with her words. For at the window of my house I looked through my casement. I beheld among the simple ones. I discerned among the youths a young man void of understanding, passing through the streets near her corner. He went her way to her house in the twilight, in the evening, in the black and dark night. And behold, there met him a woman in the attire of a whore, subtle of heart. She was loud and stubborn. Her feet abide not in her house. Now she without, now in the streets, lying in wait at every corner. So she caught him and kissed him, and with an impudent face she said unto him, I have peace offerings with me. This day I have paid my vows. Therefore came I forth to meet you, diligently seeking your face, and I have found you." Whew, sounds smooth, doesn't it? It doesn't stop there. "I have decked my bed with coverings of tapestry. I have carved works with the fine linen of Egypt. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh and aloes and cinnamon. Come, let us take fill of our love until the morning. Let us solace ourselves with loves. For the good man is not home. He is gone a long journey. He hath taken a bag of money with him and will come home at the day appointed. With her much fair speech she caused him to yield. With flattering her lips she forced him. He go after her straightway as an ox to the slaughterhouse, and as a fool to the correction of the stocks, till a dart strike through his liver, and as a bird that hastes into a snare knows not for its own life. Hearken unto me now, therefore, O you children, and attend unto my words. Let not your heart decline to her ways. Go not astray in her paths, for she has cast down many wounded, yet many strong men have been slain by her. Her house is the way to hell, going down to the chambers of death. So I need you to understand some things. The Bible is the word of God that was produced by those who are made in God's image. God, in other words, used his utensils. Mankind is like these pens here. God's hand instructs, it navigates, it strokes how God wills for those who are obedient to the will of God. These men were inspired by God. These words in this text is the fingerprint of God. It is the identity of God. God used these individuals to produce these products. It came from the thought process of God, right? It represented God wholly in totality. It's the truth of God. Now, with it coming from the mind of God, God's mind is infinite, cannot be fathomed by the finite, right? So, with that being said, when God produces a word, there's so much that's in it, it's infinite. One text can be looked at from one angle, from so many different levels, that makes it infinite. And then you can take that text and look at it from a different angle in the same context. And then from different levels from each angle. That is the infinite wisdom of God. I said that to say is that the scripture gets deep. It gets deep. Pertaining to this passage here, it's not just talking about physically. It's not just about an actual woman, a physical woman. This is not just about on a materialistic scale, on a third dimensional scale. You're about to see that it taps into multi-dimensionals and address things that happen in the spiritual realm and in the physical realm all together. When we look at what it says in Hebrew, by way which it was inspired, the original language. Once again, to any newcomers, the ancient text cannot be translated properly in English, fully, just to be nice, but properly to be real. Because there's so many words that have no equivalent. It wouldn't do the scripture justice, and we're about to see that. So what I have done, I have deciphered it and I've written it out, right? But what I'm going to use this screen for before we read this, I'm going to allow you to see a lot of these Hebrew words. I'm going to let you see the definitions. And then I'm going to show you how I formatted it so you can hear the message. The first one we're going to look at is shamar, where God says in verse 1, my son, keep my words. That's what it says. It says shamar. It's deeper than keep my words. Guard my words, as you see right there. Be aware of my word, or the word that comes here, right? Be aware, it says to observe, to mark, to reserve, to regard, to watch, to wait. Of what? Of my speech and my answer. See, that's a mirror. The word for words is devar. The word for law is Torah. That says a mirror. It doesn't say my words. All these details matter. It's not me just getting involved in antiques and nuances. No, it's deep and you're going to see it. It says, guard my answers, my appointed speech, the things that I'm saying unto you. Observe, watch. And when something is appointed, that means it's done deliberately and it's set for a time. Because at times you can find yourself falling into snares and temptations. And then it tells you to hide them. Reserve and to hide these things. We come across the next word, Deciphering, to reserve, to hide these things, to protect these things, to esteem them. Like it's a treasure. Hide them in a sense like it's a treasure. Keep them with you. So that means it has to be on your conscious, not just your subconscious. What I'm about to tell you, in other words, is letting you know the message off right. The message that I'm about to give you, it is important. It is pertinent. It is imperative that you not only digest this and understand this, but you let this resonate through your mind and your spirit, that it remains on your conscience. And I want you to keep it with you and esteem it of great value. Things of great value you don't necessarily share and display to everybody. So it's like he's on a mission. It's like whatever his message is like, I need you to know this because I'm giving you a heads up for something that's coming. Right? So look. Then we go to commandments, mishah, which means command, right? And then you see keep my commands here and live, right? Kaya, to be alive, and my law, which says Torah, right? And it says bind them, right? To tie them, bind them upon what? Your fingers. It's correct. Bind them upon your fingers, put them upon the tablet or the table. And it says a glistening tablet. So it's talking about the spirit. It's talking about your mind, a database. And the crazy part is today we have actual tablets. Pay attention to everything I'm saying to you. It's not no, I'm pointing out what it says right here. It says tablet. They got tablets today. They've been had tablets. These tablets ain't new. That which is now is that which has been is now. That which is to be has already been. Tablets been here, man. You got a tablet. That's how stuff is stored in your mind, in your heart. And it shows you that it's not talking about a physical heart here. Look at the definitions here. It's dealing with intellect, even intellect, the center of anything, the center of your mind. Store these things in the center of your mind. Put it on your, if you use a tab, it's in a database that's ready to be available, accessible, high availability. Make sure what I'm telling you is highly available in your mind. And now it's getting deep. It's going to tell you, say unto wisdom. Say unto wisdom, you are my sister. Notice it's using wisdom and understanding in a feminine sense, right? And it's telling you to see them as a character. Say unto wisdom, you are my sister, and call understanding your girlfriend, your acquaintance, your kinswoman, your girlfriend, that they may keep you, again, the word shamar, that they may guard you. And in this sense, you can see the context in which is being used, that it may keep you aware, that you may be aware. By them, you will be aware, you'll be able to watch, and you'll be guarded from what they say, this strange woman. But it says lodging, turning aside, especially in lodging, from the strange woman that's looking to lodge within your heart. You see the word lodge here, a foreigner, a strange woman, but for what? Looking to lodge with you in a sense of committing adultery. This stranger is looking to lodge. It could be lodging with you at a house, take you to their house, take you to a hotel, or a spirit trying to lodge within your mind. Pay attention. I'm not exaggerating as you see all of this here. Watch how I format this. Watch this. And then it uses stranger again, but you notice they're two different words. See that? That says Hebrew 2, 21, 11, 14. That's Zor. And then you see 4480, that's mene with what? 52.3, nok re, alien. Then you see this word alien. You see the word alien because of this alien. Many could be used to be a part of. This strange woman is a part of in a spiritual occult association that's tied in with aliens that wish to what? They put to flatter. But the first word is to be smooth as an implication of stones. And you know what's interesting? That is the same word, the same Hebrew word when David was out in battle and they said that he picked up 5 smooth stones. But they translated this word that represents smooth stones as to flatter. But it's funny when you look at it, it is regular in the natural, in the actual language in which it says, it's talking about using words as smooth stones and as if they're about to take you down, like an assault weapon. Using these words, her speech, her tactics is an assault on your manhood, on your dignity. And it's so smooth. The way she kills you is so smooth. Like, it's an assassin. These aliens are like an assassin, coming as an assassin. Now, when you see thus far, it's like he's putting them on military guard. Guard your heart, guard your mind. And I'm about to give you game. Watch what happens here. For at the window, and it says window, yep, that's correct. Kalum, window of my house, and the house could be also temple. By yet, it can be also temple. It can also be prison. It can also be a web, like a spider web. You know what I'm saying? In a dungeon, it also could be a door. So it cannot just be talking about him looking from, remember, I'm showing you things from multiple different angles at once to get you ready. And then I'm going to give it to you all once and once without breaking it down like this. You know, I peeped, but also it could be shakar, which means I peeped, I peered through my casement, my lattice. In other words, a lattice, right? And I beheld among the silly ones. It says foolish, silly. The first one is silly. I beheld amongst one of the silly ones. I discern among a young man that's like a son. He's around his son's age because it used the word bang versus just a young man. And then it uses the word for na'ar, which means a boy. So he was more like, and you pay attention to the context, he was pretty much saying that although he was a young man, probably 19, 20 something, but he was immature like a little boy. That's why it says void of understanding, lacking, kaser, lacking of understanding, passing through. Now this is why I'm saying this thing gets deep. Watch how I break these things down in portion. It's not just talking about him passing through physically, but this is spirit. This is spirit. I'm gonna break everything down. Crossing over. It says right here that word for abar. Notice it used the word for abar, to cross over. To cross over. You can cross over a lot of things. You can cross over to the next street. You can cross over to another planet. You can cross over to another realm. You can cross over to a lot of things here, you know. And then you go to the word for street. You got the word for street, right? Shuk. And you get near in the side, like a corner, right? But look at the word for corner here. It's pinah, the angle. Angle is the first one. And then you see the word tower. Then you see tower down here too. Notice the word for tower. Pay attention, taking notes. The word for tower is in there. All right, boom. And then we say it's paced, and he paced. It's like he's being decisive to pace. He paced was the first definition. See, now it's put in a different imagery. We playing a whole new scenario here. This is a whole new script. The movie screen look a lot different. This play out look way different. He's pacing like he's indecisive, like as if he knows something up, as if his conscience is telling him something ain't right. I'm changing, I'm crossing over, I'm converting, I'm reverting to doing something I know that it's not right. Went over to her way, like way of thinking, her lifestyle, conversation. Now he's engaging into her what? As you see in the beginning right here, for the word direct, a road that means path, but also a course of life, a mode of action. You see what I'm saying? So it's beyond just him traveling down a road. Let's look past the literal sense of him going to a place, but let's talk about going to a place in his mind and his spirit. Because that even happens when you're physically traveling. When someone's getting you to commit murder or conspiring to do something wrong or do something good, there's something that's happening in the other dimensions, the background. You're moving, you're transitioning there as you're transitioning here. So let's look at the transitions that happen and that happens in the unseen realms and the unseen aspects. Let's uncover these things. You see what I'm saying? So boom, you see that that's happening here. Course of life for him is changing by the moment, dealing with this creature and creatures. Because remember, she's working with these aliens as we seen earlier, right? So boom, it says at the house, bang, in the court, the door to the dungeon, da da da, boom. So in the twilight, now notice this is where things get. Now I'm gonna show you how they just deliberately translate things the way they want. Look what it says here. They said in the twilight, right? But look at the word neshif. It says a breeze. That is the dusk, when the evening, the dark night, right? The dawn of the day. Why didn't you put it in the breeze? Now you think I'm just exaggerating, like, okay, it just says twilight, but why the last definition versus all of them? Pay attention. Properly a breeze. That is the implication of a dusk. Now look at the next couple of words here. It says in the breeze of a dusk. It uses the word directly that represents dusk, right? Boom. And then when we see the next word used, in the hot day. So it's not a twilight. This is not a twilight time. So why I say in the dark evening when it doesn't say that? There was a breeze, there was a dusk. And what makes sense, because now remember, we're trying to pay attention to the philosophical and the metaphysical aspects of things, right? Which would make sense because the wilderness, when we think about a wilderness, we can think about something like a Sahara desert where there's a whole bunch of dust. And you can't really see, your vision is blurred during that time in the wilderness. There's a lack of substance. And remember, Jesus went out 40 days into the wilderness. Many people was tried during the wilderness. The Israelites went out during the wilderness. Moses had to go out in the wilderness. You see what I'm saying? And then it talks about a dusk being out in the hot of a day. You see what I'm saying? Your energy is consumed during the heat. The dust blinds your sight. You see what I'm saying? So the woman, so that we look at this, the way the setting and the environment is that he was caught, because she was searching and seeking him out, as we already read in the translation, you know, and it's going to verify that aspect. But now we see what type of setting. The mode was just fine. It was fit for a capture, like a spider coming to get, you know, her prey. And it's, the web is just right because it's wet, it's silk, it's sticky, and the fly can't go nowhere. It's trapped, it's entangled. So the setting is just right for him to be slaughtered. That's what it's pretty much saying here. You got to pay attention to this thing. Like, really pay attention. Then look what they say for Black Knight, right? It doesn't even say that. The same word that says keep my law as the apple of your eye. Look at that. You see 380 right here? It doesn't say nothing about an apple. Look at it, says the first word is Ishun, the little man of the eye. The little man of the, oh Lord, why didn't you put that? The little man of the eye. It says in the evening, in the little man of the eye. Black is the last, and they might have added that. This makes more sense. This makes more sense because you talk about dust flying everywhere, and you said it's in a hot day. Remember, right here, see, I'm not making nothing up. I'm not adding it. I'm not trying to distort it. It says to be hot as a day, warm hours. Normally it gets cold at night. So where are you getting in the twilight and in the evening? It's saying in the hot day, and there's what? There's a breeze that's coming in the hot day. Like in the cool, when God came in the garden, there was a breeze in the cool of the day. So when the spirit changed, the wind represents the spirit. The spirit is changing. Normally when the climate changes, you can see a spirit or a tornado or wind blowing. That means that the spirit is changing. A new type of spirit may be coming. And that's what's happening right here, because he was already pacing back and forth. So he decided to cross over onto another type of dimension, another type of way of thinking in spirit. So the spirit and the change in the setting, therefore change. And the inner man, this little man, what it talks about right here, the little man of the eye is the inward man. And thus that man was blinded. You see what I'm saying? Because it talks about all the dust being in the air in the heart of the day. That little man was drained of his power, of his spirit, and also was blinded in this darkness. Boom. And you see it once again, duskiness. All these words are connected and are agreeing with one another. Duskiness, dark, gloominess, darkness in the sense of being blind. You keep seeing dust, 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 dusk. Dirtiness. You see what I'm saying? When you get real dusty, you get dirty. And also, like I said, blind because it's dealing with the eyes. Pay attention. The Hebrew language is always clear and consistent and very organized and detailed. Every word, every vowel, every consonant is for a reason. That's God's word. That's God's way of doing things. Boom. And then what you see right here, lay, liel, lari, layla, a twist of the light. Pay attention, man. Pay attention. A twist away of the light. That's what it's referring to. Not the night. It's talking about a twist of the way of the light in adversity. So something bad is about to happen. Something bad is about to happen. And behold, there met him a woman, right? We see again the woman, the word for woman. We see attire, a dress, dressed like a prostitute. That's what we're gonna see. Dressed like a prostitute. We see the word. Okay, they got that. Dressed like a prostitute, ready to fornicate. Subtle, in a way of being sneaky. She got a hidden agenda, as it says with the word for nasar, a bad agenda to guard. But it's another word for to guard, but in a bad way. She's guarding in the sense of she's guarding her true intentions, her motives. This is the same. The first definition is equivalent to the word shamar. Remember the word right here? We go back up here, we see shamar, which means to guard as well. That's one of the first words, but this means guarding in a righteous way. You see what I'm saying? The Hebrew always has a polarity, this duality here. So she was guarding in the sense of guarding her intentions. You see what I'm saying? She was guarding what her real intentions were. And so it didn't really mean subtle, guarding her intentions. But subtlety is kind of a weak way. We want to get real dramatic. We want to get the most out of what's here. You know what I'm saying? Give us the raw juice of what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Get these people out of the green. So look, check this out. So bam, 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 bam. The woman is loud, clamorous, disquieted, noise, raised, tumultuous, vicious. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Unbelievable. And she's a backslider. Look, it says right here, forget stubborn. This is a better translation. Sarah. She's a backslider. She turns away. So she knew a better way. This is a woman that turned away from her post. You see what I'm saying? This is a spirit that turned away, a rebellious spirit that slides back, right? And which makes sense because now it goes back to feet. The word for feet right here, abides not. It abides not in her own habitation, in her own temple. And remember, she was connected. We went earlier, it shows she was connected with some aliens. So maybe she was also shape-shifted and out of the habitat. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to show you how you apply all of this. Because you see in Proverbs, it deals a lot with this. And notice who's the author of these Proverbs. This is Solomon, who had over 1,000 women. And it said these women turned him away from worship his God to false gods. And we know a lot of these gods were not, you're not going to fool the man who was the second wisest man on the planet. You're not going to fool the second wisest man on the planet with worshiping a wood and a stone, you know what I'm saying, and worshiping a tree. You had to do some real deception on this man. You talk about the second wisest man. Remember, this was supposedly the second wisest man to walk the earth. Jesus didn't agree with that. Many people say that, but he was the wisest man of his time. That's what the word of God said. I know Daniel is by Ezekiel. God inspired and said, Daniel, you're wiser than Daniel when comparing the cherubim, when comparing the falling cherubim. He said that this creature he's talking about is wiser than Daniel. You know what I'm saying? So Daniel, it didn't say Solomon, it said Daniel. So nevertheless, I digress from that nuance there. But this man not only was a man who was given, insurmountable amount of wisdom, but this is a man that had over 1,000 women that he conjugated with. You know what I'm saying? And that's just quite nasty. But Nevertheless, he was very experienced when it came to women. But what I want to note is that this man had wisdom and he loved God. The word says that they tricked him eventually in his age. They tricked him to end up worshiping various of different, false gods. And I just wanted to note that these are not wooden stones. You're not going to trick a man that was given all this wisdom to worshiping stuff that was made with hand. No, he must have been worshiping spirits. I mean, think about it. Out of 1,000 women, you don't think that a lot of those women were witches, sorceries, source priestess, and part of all types of different spirits, aliens from other planets and stuff like that? He don't know these women for real. You got 1,000 something women. 1,000 women? Come on. 10 women is too much. I think 10 women is too much. You got 1,000 women every day. Every day you got to deal with 1,000 women. I mean, you could run into these women any day of the week. 1,000 something women. And you think, oh, come on, they had him worshiping spirits. And I said this to say is that you can see his experience in his words and in his teachings. This man is more than qualified to give out this message, to break down this message the way he's breaking it down. Put it now, look at it in that context now. Now I give you background of the author. Pay attention to the narrative. Think about this. And then he uses the word alien in here. It said he was going out in the temples, worshiping spirit. It says all this in the text, what happened to him. It says all of this. So what is the real message that he's trying to give here? Oh, we just halfway through, baby. We're halfway through. So look, oh man, and this is nothing how I'm gonna read all this straight to you. I don't, and this is like a baby version of the format. I'm gonna go ahead and give it to you. Now it's outside. So look at the word highway, byway, the word for highway and byway right here. Now she without, you know what I'm saying? She without, she's searching, she's on a hunt. She's on a hunt trying to slay. And look, it says she got rank. Now she moved out of her rank. She moved out of her order. Look at this. She left her corner. Now she left out of her corner. She left out of her rank. These are not chance by these words. You see what I'm saying? They got Delta, Sigma, Alpha. Look at all the order in the world. These women are part of orders, fraternities, and stuff like. Pay attention to this stuff. You think they didn't have it then? The Queen of Sheba came to him. That ended up being his wife. You know what I'm saying? I mean, of course, you're not going to get that inside that was not canonized in the scripture text, but the Ethiopians have their writings. That's how the philosopher's Jews came about. He ended up, you know what I'm saying, conjulating with Queen of Sheba. And she was of the highest rank in her country. You see what I'm saying? She was of the highest rank in any order in her country. And if she was in Ethiopia and in Egypt, she was also part of a priesthood. She was not just involved in the government infrastructure. She was also involved in the affairs of the priesthood. So there's no telling what her education, what her practice background was like. I mean, there is telling, but I'm just saying, So look, and then it used the word called the width. It used the word for width, not streets. How did you get the word street out of this? Come on, man. The first word is width. It's a broad situation. So we look back at this now and the way it's put in. Oh man, I'm gonna just do that later. I'm just gonna show you the word so we can just move on. I'm just trying to get you all excited real quick so you can really see what's happening. Then we're gonna talk about this. I think you kind of seen enough of where I'm getting at here. But I just want you to connect these words so you won't think that what you're about to hear me read is me fabricating and exaggerating one bit. I want to show you these words in Hebrew, and before I read it, because I don't want you to think that I exaggerated one bit. And what I'm trying to tell you is I gave you the nice version. I didn't even get deep with it. You see what I'm saying? I didn't even put it together the way that, I can put this thing fully together. So I just want you to see this. I want you to really see this. So you see the word right here for peace offerings, right? But they say I have peace offerings, but the first thing it says properly a slaughter. Wow. The woman says, when she called him and kissed him, this is the first thing she says onto him. She says, Zabak, Zabak. Zabak is the word that represents slaughter. I came to slaughter you. Hold up. Let me just keep on showing you this, man, because I have peace offerings. I came to slaughter, man. Look, this is not shalom, but shalom is next. But I'm gonna show you also what shalom means. This is what they mean when they say shalom. The fake Jews say shalom. See, that's what you gotta understand. Just like in English, words are interchangeable, meaning that you can use words in many different ways, the same word in many different ways. That's like it is in every other language. Don't get it twisted. Then it got shalem, shalem, shalom, shalom. All three of them mean something different. And you're going to see two of them. You're going to see shalom and you're going to see shalem. You see shalem right here, right? So it's talking about giving thanks. I'm going to explain to you why later. She's thanking somebody for this slaughter, and he's the slaughter. She come to slay him. And now you see women use that word slave, right? They use slave today. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. And look what the word was. I paid my vows. Woo! We got shalom. We got shalom. We actually got shalom in here. Bam. To be safe. Why would it be the first thing for shalom, which is the same root for shalem and shalom? Shalom is the actual the root word for all three of those. They all derive from shalom. Why is it to be safe the first thing? And then look what we see in here. Look what we see. We see restitution. We see restitution and performance. It's like she's in a contract. She had an agreement to pay her what? Her vows. The promise. She has a promise she has to keep. And the promise is slaughtering because it's part of the priesthood. It's part of an order to do these things. I'm just breaking it down. I'm sorry. I couldn't wait to tell you. But I'm gonna put it all together so you can, because there's a lot to digest. So you're gonna hear me put it all together again. You know what I'm saying? And I'm showing you this is what the words say. I'm not even interpreting. This is not a matter of me interpreting. I can give you an interpretation that goes deeper and that you see it playing out. The crazy part, as I'm talking to you, you're already seeing how this is relevant to what's going on in society. Look at all your music videos. Look at your Instagram, your social media platforms. Look at how it trends. Look at the dressing. Pay attention to everything. Because look, this is where it gets real nasty at. Now it's about to get nasty. Check this out. Look what she say. Nasty as hell, right? I'm not going to skip over this part, though. All right. I came forth. You know, boom, boom, to go. I'm gonna break all that stuff down because I know you want all the juicy stuff first. You know, your face, panim. There's levels to that, and I have found you. Yeah, rabad, to spread. What did she spread? It says I have rabad. She has spread what? An arch. She has spread something on her arch. Or in her bed, in her couch. But an ark and an arch is not the same thing. The bed and the arch is two different things. You know how women stand and they make an arch on their back, and a lot of girls wear a waist around their arch, and they put the little dots around their arch. And then we also got the arch and the stuff that they keep in their house. And then they got the translation of the bed. I'm saying all these definitions are applicable because you can see these setups in the house. Man, pay attention, man. I'm giving y'all free game. Listen, tapestry. Listen, when I looked up the word for tapestry, it says linen. And you can Google this up so you know I'm not making this up. It says linen that has certain images and designs in them. Linen that have certain images and designs in them. Man, come on, man. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. Y'all know where I'm now. You know where I'm at with it. I know everybody fully locked in. Okay, so you know what's going on. I'm giving you the word. Don't get mad at me. You know what I'm saying? I'm giving you the word right now. You want it? Now you got it. It's dripping like lava. So look, boom. So it's using the carving of the living now. The carving is putting redundancy. Two words for tapestry. Look at this. Look at this. Look at this. The covering of it. So it's talking about just the fabrics, and it's talking about also like stones. It's talking about like images, like three-dimensional objects, not just the 2D, two-dimensional designs and three-dimensional designs. Now, for those who are in communities or who knows anything about spirituality, this stuff helps change the environment. When your eyes have the power to transform your environment. So images play a lot on what can happen. Your eyes are also a portal. You see what I'm saying? So man, listen, I'm telling you, pay attention. You know, I'm trying to get through this thing as fast as I can, but I gotta make sure that even the little babies can put game. You know what I'm saying? A tomb. Then you got the word right here, fine linen for a tomb. Boom, bind it from Egypt. And you think they talk about just straight from Egypt, like, yeah, you know, I got my stuff from Egypt. Yeah, 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 yeah. But also the spiritual aspect of Egypt, Egypt today, not the Arab Egypt with all them Arab. No, I'm talking about the spiritual sense of Egypt. You see everybody wearing them Ankh symbols? That's the curse. This is death. Why are you talking about life? You're saying, and that's the same thing as saying you're living your best life today. And the dead? You're cool living your best life in the dead? That's why they was fine with the Europeans calling the book of the dead, because it's really called the book of the rising. You know what I'm saying? But they ain't rising because you're not accepting the cross. You're not accepting the king who's written inside your Egyptian texts. You're rejecting the King of Kings, and it's written inside your law as well as the Hebrews law about the King of Kings. And you're choosing to wear the Ankh symbol, saying that life is already here, just like the fake Ashkenazi Jews and the other ignorant real Jews who won't accept that the Messiah has already died on the cross. Y'all are no different. And that's Egypt today, because there was thousands of the Jews that day that did not want to leave Egypt. And kept complaining to Moses that I wish we were back in Egypt. So we're talking about a spiritual and a way of thinking. We're talking about a mode of operation, a tree, the tree of Egypt for today. That's what's relevant for this text. That right there, fine linen, the works, the crafts, the arts of Egypt is what they're using. And look at the word. So now this is what I'm talking about getting nasty. She has perfumed. That's not what it's, that's not, no. That's not what it says. She vibrated. Look, it says the word to quiver. When do a woman quiver? A woman quivers when she's climaxing, when they're having sex. A woman quivers when she's having an orgasm. That's the first word for this word, to quiver. The second one is to vibrate up and down. Then you see later on sprinkling and all that type of stuff. But I'm going to go with this. I'm going to go with rubbing. I'm going to go with quivering and vibrating up and down and rocking to and fro. So you can see where this stuff is going here. And then what? She did that. She did all of that on the bed. And then she used the myrrh and she rubbed the myrrh, the aloes, and the cinnamon all over the bed. And while and this is all connected because, and this is about act, and it's precise. Look at this. Check this out. Look, I have filled what? To slake, to thirst. Somebody's thirsty. Look, to feel, the word for it's the first thing is thirst. You know what I'm saying? Look at the lingo today. Oh, you thirsty, huh? Listen, thirst. And then it says bathed. It's nothing you see nothing about feel. Come on, man. Satiate. Get this word out of here. Feel. That's not accurate translation. It surely ain't precise. That is not accurate to put that word feel there. Now I bathed what? It's talking about lust, to dode. This ain't talking about no real love. This is talking about to dode. And the first word is to boil. Now, I told you she's about to slaughter this man. This man is food, until what? The morning, right? Till the dawn. Let us take our fill. Let us lust. That's what he's saying. Let us lust. Let us have sex. Let us violate. You know what I'm saying? The laws of God. You know what I'm saying? Let me slaughter you. And then look, it says he has taken, and then it says he has taken a parcel. Look, I'm about to even break this part down to you. Look, he has taken with him, right? He has taken He has sieved and he has reserved what? A bag, right? A parcel. A parcel of what? Not money, is silver. The word for silver. I want to be precise. He has taken a bag of silver, right? It says he will come where? To Baith, to the temple in the day, right? In the height of the day. Appointed, a full moon though. Look, full moon. For the word for kaseh, for full moon. And with what? With abundance. She hit his head. Look, it's all right. I know this has already been a lot. It's probably been like 20 minutes going by. You know what I'm saying? With what? Abundance of what? Well, abundance of instruction. She was instructing, like she was instructing him in this whole process, in this whole initiation, this whole session. Do this, do that, do this. You know, you boys know, y'all know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? You sisters, y'all know what I'm talking about. You children, y'all know what I'm talking about. Y'all know what I'm talking about. What happens in these colleges, what happens to these parties, what happens to these little groups and these little circles. You know what I'm talking about. It says instructed. She instructed him. Hit him with sinister doctrines. Look at this. It's just as active in sinister sense. What? Sinister doctrines. And he learned the way. And from all of that, she caused him to yield. She caused him to yield, let down. He let his guard down. He let down shamar. Remember the word shamar? Let down shamar. Overthrown, perverted. And them smooth stones again. Look. Kalek, smoothness. Now you see, Kalek, the word for Kalek, flattery. Why didn't they use this same word earlier when they was talking about the smooth stones? You would have thought you would have saw smooth stones again, huh? Why? No, because right here is something different. The same word for smooth stones that David used is the same word they used earlier. And David used that when he was taking down a giant, when it was time for a slaughter. And we love to use that passage in a spiritual context. So let's look at this from the same spiritual context. There's giants, righteous giants that get taken down, like Samson dealing with Delilah. So we was talking about those smooth stones. Now you can see when they're using the word flattery actually pertaining to the lips. But it was talking about flattery, and it was talking about a smooth assassination. That's what it's talking about. Now, when it's talking about flattery, it's talking about speech and portion and inheritance. But look at this. The smoothness of the tongue was to take his inheritance. This is the same word for inheritance. Man must lose their birthright messing with women. Messing with the wrong women. Messing with the wrong people. You see this? Say far. The word for say far or bank. And it's funny because you see this. Look at this. Look at this from the other angle. See how this talk about from the way they just translated. It seems like it's talking about a speech dealing with her tongue. But look at what the words say in the original language. This the first definition. We see smoothness, and then we see on this list we also see inheritance. The second word that they transfer for say far, where they said it represents for the lips, it also used the word for bank. Bank. So we see inheritance. When people normally take their inheritance, they take their inheritance to a bank. To a bank. Her mouth was like a whale, like a seashore that was so smooth to flatten this man out of a bank. In a flow, sometimes the word people be talking about, man, you got money coming out your mouth. They call it gold mouth. Remember back in the day, especially the South, people's names were called gold mouth. Not because they had golds, it's because their words was good as gold. You see what I'm saying? She had that glitter in her mouth to sway this man to participate in some stuff that was going to leave him decapitated, downstairs and upstairs, both heads gone. Both rocks snatched from the left to the right. He might as well be a thought with a thumb. Because that's what they use that vagina for. That coochie, excuse my language, that pussy. You see what I'm saying? I gotta get raw in this video. I gotta talk to you like that. Because people are so weak and think it's cool when you're a victim. Like, it's embarrassing. And then look how it tells you. And he go after her. He walk, halak. and it uses the word walk, halak. The word for walk they use here is halak. Now in Hebrew, they tell you halak, they use the word halak more for a lifestyle than they use the word for actually walking down the street. Halak represents a lifestyle mode of operation. That's one of the most famous words in the so-called Jewish land in the Middle East today. Halak. It's a lifestyle. He's traveling down that path now. He's following after that way. He's part of that community. You know, he got hit like Solomon did. He ain't hit her, she hit him. Look. And then it says as an ox, as a bull. And then look, the word for bull as well. The word that they translate as ox could be translated as bull. You know why I'm pointing out bull. You see where I'm at with this already. Bull. I would like bull. Let's put bull right there. As a bull going to the slaughterhouse. Going straight to the slaughterhouse. As a silly man. A silly. I like silly. I don't like a fool. A silly man going to the prison house. You see that? Into chains, with chains on them, with feathers and chains on them, till a dart strike through his liver. As a bird, bop, 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 bop. All right, I'm gonna, snare. We're gonna run through these real quick because I'm getting excited to hit you with the word real quick. I'm ready to show you, and we can go over these if needed. You know what I'm saying? To fall, the word from the fall, to fall, you know what I'm saying? Comes from Nephal, where you get the word Nephilim, what also means bully. Many wounded are there. You see that, right? You see house. Oh yeah, this I gotta show you chambers real quick. The word for chambers. All right, chambers also means apartment. The first word, Kedar, is an apartment. The first word is apartment. That's the first definition, apartment. And then south is here too. South. I want you to pay attention to south. The fact that south is in here, and then also apartment. So it could have been, and then innermost. It could have been translated as apartment, and then it has the word south in there. Which makes sense because then before it says going down to descend, the yarad to descend, going down. And you see how all these words are connected? You see how these words are connected? The definitions in these words are connected. Like they're perfect together for the message. So you have no doubt. The reason why I'm expressing this because you will have no doubt on how you should properly translate and interpret it. You can see because there's several words for chamber, several words for apartment, and the way that the Bible inspires, the way God inspires these brothers to write this in the Bible in the Hebrew is to make it easily understood what you're conveying, because they all are synchronized. It's a pattern. There's nothing complex when you see it in the original language. Out of all the words for chamber, it represents the southern chamber. And then the word apartment. They got apartments in hell. Her house is the way to hell, going down to the chambers of death. And apartments, there's many different floors. And on each floor, they could have the west wing, east wing, south wing, north. All right. So now I'm going to give it to you how I format it. My son, Shamar, guard, reserve, observe, preserve because of my speeches. Hide them secretly. Preserve my commandments with you. Guard and reserve my commandments. Be revived and live. And my law as the little man of the eye. Tie it and join them upon your fingers. Record and write them upon your heart on a shiny tablet or a table of your mind. Speak and command wisdom and say, you are my sister. Call understanding your friend, that they may guard, observe, reserve, and preserve you, and you may be aware of the strange woman for which lodge with aliens, seeking to lodge within your mind, using words like smooth stones to divide and flatter, by partnering with spirits to divide you with her appointed speeches. For at the window of my house, my temple, my dungeon, my prison. I peep and look through my lattice. I observe among the silly ones. Unskillful discern, I skillfully discern among the young boys an immature young man lacking understanding, conveying and crossing over and passing through the overflow or the street. And he mounted, he paced it back and forth and went into her course of life, her threshold, her path, her house, her temple, from the angle, from which she bides, in the breeze of the day, in the evening hours, the little man of the eye, the black pupil, like the misfortune of the sun setting, behold, there encountered him a woman dressed like a prostitute, intentions hidden within her. She is loud, she is raging, she is tumultuous, she is backsliding, that she withdrew with rebellion. Most of her time, her feet is not in her house, her temple, her prison, nor her dungeon. Now she is abroad, now in the open room to ambush at every side and every angle of the pinnacle and of the tower and of the lowest parts. She caught him and with an arm kiss, she ruled him by a kiss. And with a prevailing face, she said unto him, I have peace offerings this day. I have made amends. I have been rewarded for a promise I shall keep. Therefore I came forth seeking your acquaintance, searching your face, and I have found you. I have spread my bed with coverings and with abundance of textile linens, with images and designs, with expensive twisted linen from Egypt. I have vibrated and quivered up and down my bed and rubbed it with myrrh and aloes and cinnamon. Walk with me. Let us quench our thirst for lust until the morning. Let us climax ourselves with love, for the good man is not home, nor in the temple, nor in the dungeon. His course of action is far journey. He is remote. He has reserved and taken a bag of silver with him, within his power, and returned home in the prison to the temple and the judgment and the dungeon on the day of appointment. With much of her sinister instruction, she caused him to yield, to bow, as in an afternoon worship, a perverted overthrow. He followed after her, suddenly as a bull or an ox to the slaughterhouse, as a silly, foolish man to the prison house with chains. Till an arrow pierced through his liver, as a little bird that is to a snare, not knoweth not for its life. Hear me diligently, children. Attend, mark well my appointed speeches of my mouth. Let not your mind decline and deviate to her paths. Stagger not, nor stray to her tramps and byways. For she has overthrown many and caused many to become fugitives in their own minds, and darkened their light, and slain many and wounded many. Her house and her temple, her dungeon is the way to hell, going down to the chambers of death. Ooh, yes, sir. Yeah, yeah. Now we got the eye opening, wide open. You see what I'm saying? Now we got an eye opening. Now you can see how relevant this is today. Now, who haven't been hit with this? You see what I'm saying? Like, that's what's real. That's what's real. And that's how the word have to be digested. That's how the word has to be broken down. That's how they're going to digest it and get the substance and see how it's applicable to the everyday life. Everyday life. You see what I'm saying? And then now we go back to the top. This is why it says to keep wisdom as your sister, as your homegirl. You see what I'm saying? And understanding as your girlfriend. And I tell you, when you think of that, when you think of wisdom and understanding that comes from God like that, guess what? That spirit is gonna manifest in the flesh. In other words, you're gonna get women that surround you that's like that. Women that are celibate, that ain't got no type of hidden intentions to you. You see what I'm saying? And they may not be friends that you got their numbers. You could be going out to a bar, going out to a store. They just show up wisdom and understanding. They just show up on time. You see what I'm saying? They just, I love colors. So I had the spirit So pink and purple just show up just on time. You see what I'm saying? I think of colors. You know, the rainbow of God represents the wisdom of God. You know, so as I was just saying this was came to my mind. You know what I'm saying? Pink in its purest, most righteous form represents universal integration. So that's a spirit that kind of knows about all the other variations very well. You know what I'm saying? In purple, I look at purple like understanding. You see what I'm saying? So they just show up right on time and excuse me. You know what I'm saying? Like a flag, one like a flag in the middle of the street, the other one pulling up, get in, take off. Got you out of that situation because it was already in your heart. As a man thinketh, so is he. You see what I'm saying? And it manifests. What's happening in these dimensions in the innermost being starts to manifest on the outside. And it will keep you literally. I'm telling you from experience. This is what I'm just telling you. I'm telling you from experience because you got to sometimes guard your heart. Like it's like Shamar. You got to guard yourself too from people, you know, because sometimes you may be in a vulnerable state. Not that, oh, I can't be around people who are living a certain lifestyle who want to be a thotty, too hottie, you know what I'm saying? With everybody. Nah, I'm not saying that, but some moments you're vulnerable. You gotta be realistic. Like some moments you're like Samson. Some moments, some people are trying to deceive you, and that's where the counsel of God comes into place, because even God has counsel. So who are you, who's God's creation, to think that you don't need counsel, that you don't need a rod, that you don't need a staff? The rod that it talks about in Psalms 23 is the power of God. But the power of God is also coupled with and associated with the staff of God. The staff of God is the Holy Spirit and the angelic beings and the people who God's put in your life. And once again, like I said, I want to point out that sometimes it's not going to be somebody that's in your phone. It may be somebody in your phone, but sometimes it's not. Sometimes expect that it's just going to be somebody down the street, somebody that just shows up in time, and they may just show up just when it's needed. And that may be how your relationship is. You see what I'm saying? And that's just to keep you. You know what I'm saying? Because I know some brothers, they just want to be so affectionate, and they just have this passion for marriage, or just so you know, intimate, so sentimental, you know, that they may fall in love with someone who's really just an angel in their life. So sometimes God may keep you astray. You see it in the movies. Girls want to fall in love with the heroes, and vice versa and stuff like that. And that's why they got to keep the mask on and hurry up and take off and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Because they just really angels in disguise. That's why it tells you in Hebrews to be careful to entertain strangers, because you could be entertaining angels unaware. But if your heart is guarded, you're going to be entertaining the right strangers. Once again, we get back to Proverbs 7, where it talked about strangers. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to be entertaining the right strangers when you say, wisdom, you are my sister, and understanding, you are my friend. You see what I'm saying? You are my friend here, you know? So, and don't be afraid to call on God to send them out, like, hello? You know what I'm saying? You know how you call a friend up and you're like, you got such and such number? You see what I'm saying? And don't be afraid to call God up, like, yeah, I got you. Don't even worry about it. I'm about to send wisdom. I'm about to send Kakma over there now. You know what I'm saying? CC and KK coming right now. Don't even worry about it. They on their way. All right. So, and then boom, boom, bop. You know, because sometimes you may find yourself, you know what I'm saying? You may find yourself kind of like weak, you know? And it's real like that. I mean, I seen pastors fall for not, you know, being on guard. You know what I'm saying? You a pastor, my G. You know how much light coming out. I mean, I'm talking about the real pastors. I'm not just talking about guys that's in there, this, you know what I mean? I'm talking about real pastors. I'm not talking about women that were taken advantage of by wolves who play as pastors. I'm talking about pastors who was taken advantage by these slayers right here, by these rebellious, confused children who are in bondage themselves. Now, this woman is in bondage too. We'll go over that video, because that's another chapter in Proverbs, and that's for another time. You know what I'm saying? But they're in bondage too. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want to just blow them up bigger than what they really is. They're slaves to it. Like I said, she came to keep a promise. So she was involved in a conspiracy. And like I said, it associated strange women. Then it talked about an alien. Some people will say and it's translated both these words for stranger. What I'm saying is two different parties that were partnering up together, because you see the word for partner used in there as well. And they partnered up a situation. And that's what you do when you're in these occults and stuff like that. These women are making sacrifices. Remember, they deceived Solomon into participating in worshiping spirits and demons. So they were already associated with something. They came with their own gods and their own beliefs. You see what I'm saying? They was already part of a community, a covenant. They was already associated. And part of that was taking men down. Some of them work with incubus, succubus, where you got to use the men's specimen. We need the energy. We need some chlorophyll. We need some sperm. We need, some endorphins. We need all these different chemicals and different alchemy. And we need you to have sex under the full moon when these stars align here, and all this type of chemistry and dynamics need to go on, and they get it all done because these bammers, you hear me? But real talk, Solomon, think about this. Think about what God was really trying to say. And everybody wants to, and all love, to Solomon. Shouts out, because I love my boy. That's my guy. You know what I'm saying? But people worship this man. So I'm about to take that away from him, because that's a burden on his back. Think about it. Out of all people, why did God let that happen to him? So that nobody received the glory but Jesus Christ. The wisest man end up out of all of his sins, he ends up worshiping a false god. The man that asked God for only one thing. God said, I'll give you whatever. He didn't even ask for money. And God said, I appraise you because you didn't ask me for money. You didn't ask me for power, but you asked me for wisdom, and wisdom not for yourself, but to lead my people. This same man turned around, and his flaw, he fell from worshiping other gods because the root of it was his lust for women. His lust for other gods. See, I didn't want to turn this, I didn't really want to put the spotlight on this, but it's needed. His experiences are now going to become a testimony for not just the men, but women can connect to this too, the female species, because y'all all are men. You just came out of the man, you're the counterpart. So all this is relevant. All of this is relevant. So check this out. He really had a lust for another god. Remember what I said in the other video, for anybody who's seen it. If not, you need to go check this video out where I talked about the garden on my Facebook, and it's my first and last name like this account here, but I'm gonna make another version right here on YouTube. So I explained that the snake in the garden had no bite. The snake had no fangs. Notice that the only bite that took place was the bite of Adam and the bite of Eve. And then there was no poison other than the poison that was in Adam's heart and the poison that was in Eve's heart. See, if there was no poison in her heart, she would have never, ever been around that tree of knowledge of good and evil. And if there was no poison in Adam's heart, he would have never been off guard, and he would have been aware of what was on Eve's heart, because his job was to guard the garden and everything in it. So his awareness would have been about what's on her mind. And you see that today, a lot of men do not know how to have affection, and nor are they concerned with the mind of their women. They're just more concerned with the panties and the things that lie within. They're limited to knowing how to love. I give them the most benefit of the doubt is that, right? So there was that poison developing in it. And when that poison swift, it makes room for fest and pest, pestering thoughts. These thoughts become creatures. And garden snakes, aka garter snakes, they come in a garden. They're not from the garden. Remember, the garden was inside Eden. But Eden was not inside the garden. Eden was bigger than the garden. I know I'm busting your head with a lot of stuff, but the text tells you that directly. So garden snakes, they're not from the garden. Garden snakes enter into the garden. And the snakes enter into the garden to eat pests. They only enter into the garden when they see pests. So you notice that she was the pest. She had a lot of pestilous thoughts in her mind. So the snake only was exploiting what was in her mind in the first place. You see what I'm saying? So what I'm trying to explain to you is the bad guy begins within you, and it attracts the other forces of darkness that are around or trying to get into your mind. You got to clean out, you got to purge, and you got to guard your mind afterwards. After you purge, you got to guard your heart, guard your mind, and guard your spirit, like it says. See, but we don't want to just throw everything on a snake, because when you throw everything on a snake, on Satan, on the dragon, on the lizard, on all these, you seem like your God and yourself is so damn weak. And if that's the case, you're worthless, because you're giving all the power to everything else but yourself. You got your guard down. That's the problem. Men let lust, and lust be the easiest way in for people to take a person down. They keep their guards down when it comes to lust. When it comes to lust, man, that's a $1 trillion operation on this planet. Sex trafficking, pornography, prostitution, sophisticated sex trafficking, what they call modeling and strip club. I'm a dancer. Oh, I'm a model. You're an ass clapping, body selling individual. That's just what is really going on. You know, I'm just telling you for what it is. Let's sober up and be real. You know, so lust is a great pest, and people have to take control over this. And see, the greatest sin is idolatry. Idolatry. And I'm going to tell you how great this is. It's the first commandment. And you know, the commandments can be looked like a pyramid. And on the very highest block, there's no space for another block. Thus, the first commandment is about God. There's no space for another God. That's why adultery, do not commit adultery, was the first commandment. Sitting right at the top of the pyramid. Only me, only my eye, only my head, only my crown, only my throne, only my name. You shall not have no other gods but me. Idolatry, this is how strict and how real idolatry is. Anytime you think about anything more than God, you has committed adultery. Any day that you have 24 hours within a day, if you spend most of your hours doing things other than worshiping God, you have committed adultery. And worshiping God is not always reading the Bible all daggone day. It's doing what God calls you to do. It's living out the purpose of God. That's part of worshiping God. And it's to your own benefit. Like, you benefit from it in the first place. Like, you can't even get mad at this. How you in a win-win situation in this relationship? Like, you can't even, how can you get mad at that? You benefit from it. It's not like you working for Satan. You want to go work for Satan? You ain't got no benefits, no rights. Like, what? You're a puppet for him to get on God's nerves. That's all you guys are that work for. Like, oh my goodness. Anyways, let me drink some water real quick. I don't pour the water out for the guys. You know what I'm saying? For the fam. I drank it. Yeah, so man, like, he had idolatry in his heart, because 1,000-something women, my God, 1,000-something women, there's no way you had time to worship God. 1,000-something women. 2 women is too much to have that level of relationship. You can have a lot of women. I have a lot of women in my life. But we're talking about on a marriage scale, you gotta have, and then you gotta have intercourse with these women. You nasty. You ain't, and you don't got no time for yourself or God. Let alone, we don't know how many children you had. That's a military. The only way that's something that's like, dad, God, like you set me on punishment. Like that's like people love stuff like that. They glorify, they envy this because they have no understanding of what's going on. They're so down here. And that's why I had to show you the scriptural text from up there and other places. This said you don't even have no idea of how much you have no idea of who you are, first of all. That's the reason why you like it. Second of all, you have no idea of the effect either. To have, man, what? Nah, that ain't, it's a privilege. Yes, I'm not making it seem like having sex and being married is not something, but to be with a whole bunch of different women in this one lifetime, and then to be with them and all together in a relationship, you're like a fly. You're like, he's a bug on around a whole bunch of spiders. Like, and he used the word web in here. And you see it in the passage. Go back in the video if you didn't catch it. You see the word in there for web. Your man was in a spider web. And that's how they got him, because first they got him to start worshiping them. And they were just instruments to get him to worship spirits. Because, you got this, he started to feel, first how they do it, I'm going to break down some stuff that, so first they get you all pumped up about yourself. See, there's a whole bunch of sins they get you to secret with smooth stones. Remember, she talked about the smooth stones, and the same word that David used, when he took those 5 stones. So they used the hand. They had all these different tactics. They using their fingers. They pulling strings. So I'm going to get you feeling so good. Oh, King Solomon. I bet you that Daddy Solomon, doing all this type of talking to him like that. King Solomon. And then Daddy Solomon, he started loving it. Let's see how soft and tender he is. They poking at their meat. They're poking at the food product, the meal. Let me see how tender and ripe. We're going to get you to violate God. Like it was a game, like it was a hunt. It's savage and it's evil. You know what I'm saying? I'm saying it like this because I don't want to make, man, listen, I can make you cry. I'll make your feelings hurt because it's real. And whoever catches is probably a victim themselves. But I got to make it humorous so that you won't feel some type of way, because God mercy is real. But just don't play with God. Stop playing with him. So check this out. So he's, oh, King, Daddy, da-da-da-da. And they get you like that, right? And then Lord comes in. Then, now because he's actually a king over a whole land. So it's going to be easy to slide that trick. Oh, Lord, oh, God. And then when you having sex with him, oh, God, and then they start calling you Lord. And then you don't rebuke it. I'm like, whoa, wait. And we're gods. Psalms 82. They throw the word Psalms 82 out there. You know what I'm saying? Use that in that sense. Then you start to find yourself stop praying. You're going to find yourself not praying so much. But they still doing their praying, though. And then you be watching them doing their incense, their candles, because you don't got time. Because every time you're about to try to pray, one of them trying to have sex with you. But it's not going to start off just that rude and raw. It's going, I need you to help me with this. I need you to take care of that. It's going to be a distraction. Like 1,000 women, that was game over already. The moment you had over 20-something women, it was game over for you. I know 3 women in one household, that's absurd. That's absurd. And if you have kids and the kids spend more time with them than you're an op. You're just a sitting duck in the house. Everybody playing games with you. Like they're going to get him to do this, get you from everything from worshiping your God and taking care of the country. Because remember, everybody respected him because of what his father did, first and foremost. His father was and the army that worked for his father was still there. So the impact of his father is going to sit for maybe 30 to 40 years around him. And then they loved him because he was a man of peace. So first of all, that's why he had to worry about all of that. But if he was in his father's days, there was no way that Solomon would have made it. would have been took that. They would have been took my boy down. They would have been took Solomon down. No way he would have made it. No way in the world. No way. Not at all. We're coming for you. Like, we're coming. You got 1,000 women around you, and you can tell me all about how bees and flowers work, but you can tell me all of that when you're in the dungeon and I'm sitting on your throne. That's how it's for real. And it was women eventually sitting on how I see it while he was still in office. The women was really controlling how things were going in the last days. And that's the reason why his sons end up in a situation where they were trying to kill one another to get to the father throne, because the father couldn't spend no father time dealing with all of these women. You see what I'm saying? And that's what you got on. That's what you got going on today. The father can't spend time properly with one child because he got to deal with all these other women. You see what I'm saying? Like, you got to, man, this is such a sensitive topic. I can go on for all day with this. You can't tell me nothing about this right here. There's nothing I don't want to hear when it comes about being a father, being a king, and when it comes to dealing with sexual relationships, transmutation, any level and degree that you got on your mind. But this right here, I'm telling you, I know it hit home for everybody, and it's real like that. He committed adultery from the jump because he spent more time with these women than he spent with God. And that's how they got him to elevate to the point where he's actually worshiping these false gods. Because now he's starting to see things and he forgot because he lost his mirror. Remember, you're alive, you're plugged into a system. This is not real, but you got to stay tapped into what's real. You got to stay plugged into God. You got to keep your face in the word of God. You got to stay in meditation so that you can be in this world, but not of this world, be in this consciousness, but not of this consciousness. But if all of your dimensions, if all of your senses is plugged to this surface, you're going to think that this is reality. You're going to be submission to everything in this world. And you're going to forget who you are and forget where you came from and forget what's really going on when you're outside of the word of God. And that's what they were doing. Bring him down from other dimensions. He's like the angel of this planet right now. Bring him down all the way down here. And the women, when he submitted to the idea, probably some homies or something like that, or maybe it was been on his heart as a kid because his daddy. You see what I'm saying? And his grandfathers and all that were into that mafia of having more than one wife. You know, so it followed along. Do you know what I mean? And then he had all these different women. And then once you started just fixing your eyeballs all on them, it's going to be easy because his wisdom, especially for a man with a whole bunch of wisdom, because angelic beings are good with that. It's good with that. Like, it would have been easier if he was a man. It would have been harder for them to get him if he was a man that had way less understanding than him. But it was by his own wisdom, just like Lucifer. He felt just like Lucifer, but from a sexual sense. It was by his own wisdom that they turned it against him. Because he could see so much spiritually, they started to play on that. So I'm quite sure they probably used the idea that he was a god. You see what I'm saying? So that's what ended up happening. You know, that's how he ended up worshiping false gods, because they used an idea on him that he was a god. They played him. You know what I mean? This is why he knew what they were doing. I mean, in a sense, because they was working with some spirits. I'm telling you, that's how it went down. That's how it went down. And you see that in this passage. And then what he write in Proverbs 7? Who wrote Proverbs 7? He did. He wrote Proverbs 7. And he tells you, I want you to guard this word. Like, I need you to take this and run with you. And I'm going to show you a whole. And then it gets real nasty in it. You know what I'm saying? Designing women. And y'all know all this. I'm not even going into details about what he's saying in it, because I don't need to, because by 2021, y'all already know. Y'all already know. You already got hit with it. You already did. Pay attention to the carpets, the type of sheets. Man, you better stop playing games. I don't play games. I don't play them. I don't. No. Not those. Not even. I don't know. I don't. Love games, yeah. You playing for a throne and crown, you playing with fire. Yeah. Nah. Y'all better wise it up. Better control this. This says the works of Egypt the works of Egypt. In Egypt, they take this offense. Real kings, man, listen, you wouldn't even be able to get near them. They don't tell you all the history in these books. I don't care about who African scholars, Europe. I don't care who these translators are. They don't really know about Egypt. I can tell you about Egypt. They don't really know about Egypt. You see what I'm saying? They might know about Lincoln. Y'all really know about Lincoln. They might know about Lincoln, but y'all don't really know about Egypt like that. There was righteous kings out of Egypt. Listen. This is for everybody from the Blue Nile, things, for y'all blue boy. There's righteous kings out of Egypt, and you guys on the other side, and you know what I mean by that. You know what I mean, because to all y'all, all the kings are righteous. But so you know what I'm saying when I'm saying there's righteous kings over there. They serve Father God. There was kings on that side, that's from that side, from the Red Nile, that served and believed Father God. And they would be highly offended at an operation like that took place with Solomon. Like, you can't get that close to me, because it's even in the text, even for which I translated, you see that sensuality is like that's like level 1. If that's ground zero. If you're still battling with sensuality, like once you get to a certain point, you don't even have physical sex with your wife anymore. Kings, they stopped having, there was a different level type of sexual transmutation that took place. And then once you get to a certain level, none of that even happened no more. Then once you get to a certain degree, that doesn't even happen anymore, because you start to look at them differently. That's why the scripture says, let them become one as we are one. That's John 17. And then you go into Galatians, says there's neither male nor female. Ooh, that's all the way up there. There's neither male nor female, but you are all one in Christ. So I can minister and talk to my people of Egypt, and they can relate to what I'm saying. Why you think in the gospel it says that the queen of the south will arise and condemn y'all that's on this side of the river? It will condemn y'all, because if they saw me today, they would have been repented. They would have repented. They wouldn't be going back and forth with me about this. Oh, that time coming too. You know what I'm saying? By the way, y'all talking about people seeing the dead raised today. Y'all ain't seen nothing. There's plenty more people coming back. You're like, dang, it doesn't even look like death's even real anymore. Man. Yeah, so man, yeah. Guard that heart for real. I'm smiling because I'm trying to make light of this, but this is serious. This is serious during this time right now. The spirit of lust, gender confusion, all of it's connected when you start to see it from the spiritual order of things. Homosexuality, transsexuality, all of it's connected. It is the reverse, the opposite of what is true. It's Babylon. That's where Babylon comes into play. It's beyond Egypt. Once you start to get into homosexuality, once you start to get into transgender, that's Babylon now. Now you don't went to another level of darkness. Because remember, it says they're both one in Christ, right? A person would run and take that and say that justifies a man being identified as a woman and a woman being identified as a man. You see that? That's Babylon. A little bit of truth in the midst of a lie. That's Babylon. You see what I'm saying? So you got to pay attention to that. It's rebellion. First thing you see is rebellion. God has made you as a man he brought you here in a man's body for a reason. And you as a woman for a reason. You have a responsibility. This personality, this
individuality that you have transcends the flesh. Yes. But here as a human, you are a man and you are a woman. That's a fact. Nothing changes about that. That's the child that's within you. You won't be able to experience that if you're in bondage. Some people are in bondage to Babylon, to a spirit of confusion, to be more precise. So they truly can't until they're freed and want to be free. By the way, you still gotta want to be free. They will always see themselves outside of how God has made them, because there's a spirit controlling them. As it says in Proverbs 25, verse 28, he that has no rule over his own spirit is like a city without walls. So there's always going to be signals and thoughts and patterns make them want to move like this, act like that, because there's parts of them that's opened up. Remember, the scripture shows you're also an angelic being. So parts of them are activated in other dimensions. Certain dimensions of themselves are activated prematurely or early on. That's part of being in bondage. A child coming out premature, I look at that as bondage, because you were not afforded the opportunity to be fully nurtured in a secure environment. So now you're placed in a box that looks like a tomb, an incubator. They call it an incubator. It looks like a baby tomb. And the environment looks like a prison or a morgue full of dead bodies. And all these people got to control your process now, versus you being in the womb. For even when you're in the womb, your mother she has little control. Most of the control comes from God and how he designed the gestation process. All she got to do is just give you the proper nutrients and live a proper life. But the development phase is all God's responsibility. But when they're premature, now a lot of that responsibility has been given to those individuals who work in that space. That's symbolic to the spiritual world. So many people are in bondage, little babies. Their spirit is being manipulated all types of ways to perceive things about themselves and about this world that is false. So this has to be administered. Y'all need to pray for this level of understanding to be given to you from various of other angles that have not touched yet. And the power, the courage to understand it and to deliver it to people who are in bondage. You may be one of those. God made you a man. God made you a woman for a reason. But see, the further you go up in spirit outside this flesh, when you're not in this flesh, there is no man or woman. That's where people get the twin flame thing from. God is allowing you to experience God. Once again, you're made in God's image to experience God in fragments, because God is infinite. God still loves you and wants you to experience God. You living, you're experiencing who God is. God is the all living. You see what I'm saying? Everything you do, you're experiencing God. God said, let's make man and woman in our image and likeness. You're experiencing God. And then the two become one flesh. You're experiencing God. When you reject how God brought you into this world, you're rejecting the experience that comes from God. Thus, you're rejecting God by rejecting yourself, who's made in God's image and likeness. And you may say, well, then why did God make me to battle? Or why do I feel this way? If this was it, because some people don't say make me to battle. Some people think that, okay, well, I'm experiencing this. I believe that I'm experiencing God, and God knows that I actually feel like a woman, although I'm a man. God knows my thoughts. He knows that I'm not just randomly putting a dress on to be rebellious. No, 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 no. No. Let's say, Father God, no, I know that. I know. You're not doing that to be rebellious. No, you're controlled by a rebellious spirit. And you may have been, man, I can get so, listen, you may have been associated with this rebellious spirit when you was an angelic being, because Psalms 82 verse 6 and 7 says, I said, you are gods, all of you children of the Most High, but you shall die like men and fall like one of the princes. So if you know that you are a star seed, what is your history before this? Huh? See, everybody comes in this world with a challenge that they have to overcome. You're given a way out by Almighty. You can overcome these challenges by Almighty God. Almighty. Notice how I use Almighty, not Father God, not no. Almighty. Use Almighty because Almighty is connected to being mightyful from all angles and all things. This name is relevant to all. Okay? And in the most treacherous situations, people want Almighty. It's treacherous to be in bondage when it comes to identity. But the greatest of warriors are produced out of that. The greatest. It says a lot about where you have fell from and what God has in store for you when you shall overcome. It says a lot. You know, and I'm going on to another. I'm going to leave it right there, you know. I'm going to leave that for another video because I want you to really be absorbed in the other aspect. You know, I might just cut this off and make another clip, but you know, take heed because it's coming.